Good morning, guys. It's American Zarathustra here. I'm going to share an essay that I recently wrote. I'll just go ahead and read through it. Religion versus spirituality, levels of knowing and the divine. The steps progressing towards wisdom. An organized multinational religion as exclusive vehicle to communion with God. The moral codes of a people, formation of the institution of family, rituals of death, and guarantee of a happy afterlife. Required services, holidays, rituals, reading, practices, and the dynamics of relationships with people whom we interact with to do these things. The cultural identity of a given religion interwoven with one's ethnicity and nationality, one's responsibility to one's nation, community, friends, and family. The layers of race, ethnicity, nationality, language, culture, family, and social position are baked in the oven of primal needs and material environment to formulate the human individual. The consequences of thought, speech, and action based on an individual's fears and desires, both within the religion's moral codes and that of society. One's spiritual experience is filtered and crafted by all of the above. Crisis or catastrophe that catapults the individual out of the socio-economic stability, leading to either loss of spirituality, atheism, or heightened spirituality, either of which are filtered through ego identity formed from the above conditions and circumstances. 7. Leaving the planet of ego identity and into the inner space in search of God, illumination, spirit, peace, wisdom. Existential paradigm shift from direct experience with the formless and timeless ground of being, the sum of all consciousness, illumination. Acquiring wisdom of man's divine nature, understanding the core teachings of spiritual masters as separate from the chaff of cultural invention. Descending back into ego, seeing that words are the building blocks of the false self, but that words are also the bridge to wisdom and manifestation. Descending further into the social structures of the false self, the socio-sexual and political structures between people that are rooted in material and primal needs, competition for resources. Remembering that all these people are obeying the false self constructed of words and grounded in material needs, then cemented by social behaviors. One sees others with parental compassion, trying to shed light on how others create their own suffering and hurt others. The ascetic here chooses the solitary path away from people and their entanglements, perhaps to one day return in another lifetime as a saint or not. Descending further into organized religion, appreciating the pathways to wisdom, but unassailable to its deceptions. Realizing that one must work within these linguistic, cultural, socio-sexual frameworks to spark wisdom in others. Others, however, use religion like a chess game in ego-driven power games for the control of others' behavior, identity, and resources. 12. Ability to see through Abrahamic religion as a Zionist psyops construct, facing social dejection and potential legal problems for exposing the precedent and practice of this insurrection. Approaching the Jew about this problem in an illumined way, sharing wisdom gleaned from spiritual experience beyond the limitations of doctrine. Failing to illuminate the Jew due to his ostentatious ego grounded in the belief that he is the chosen people with exclusivity to God. An ego militarized against the Gentile and non-Jew for fear of being evicted from host country or an imagined Holocaust. 14. Descend into knowing the cultural identity of a given religion interwoven with one's ethnicity and nationality, one's responsibility to one's nation, community, friends, and family. The layers of race, nationality, language, culture, and family are baked in the oven of primal needs that formulate the human individual. Wisdom, however, is the knowing that the individual is animated by the Spirit, and thus its lifeline comes directly from the divine. The word divine is merely a symbol of that which is beyond language. Love, in the divine sense, Christ consciousness, the bodhisattva, is the means by which humans can benefit each other in the material world without socio-psychological entanglements. Wisdom is knowing oneself and others are deluded by our ego identity, but that this very same socio-psychological vehicle allows us to survive, create, and thrive in the material world. Acknowledging others' limitations and capacities for both self-defense and to help others. Identities are genetically coded by race, recognized by cultural ethnicity, then diversified by individuals and the choices they make in relation to the environment they are in. Like a parent or school teacher, the one who leads others back to the ground of being must craft their lessons to the capacity of the student, never more or less outside their human limitations. One may be born with low intellectual and emotional intelligence, prone to violence from abuse or cultural norm, yet still have shining moments of understanding through direct experience with God. Same holds true for those high up in the ivory tower, kings of vocabulary and despots of philosophy. The saint must be a master of conceptual and linguistic martial arts to aid all. While the ascetic uses solitude, academics, and meditation for liberation, the saint uses the field of humanity to experience communion with the divine. Neither of these spiritual figures are safe from political upheaval or natural disaster, but neither of them invests themselves in the ego identity that drives and is driven by the material world. The means by which the saint helps others must be creative. The arts are the first tool through which this can be achieved. The danger for both is the wily ego, and is ever ready and present with every kind of diversion. So-called spiritual people can spend a lifetime wearing the cloaks of religion and compassion only as forms of manipulating others. 17. Conclusion. Beware the ego. Contemplate the meaning of the relationship of the material world to the ground of being, the sum of all consciousness.